Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Steven Universe review. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Season 1, Episode 19, Rose's Room. This is a pretty good episode. It's more about character development, specifically Steven's character development, and I think it really works. It's got an interesting concept behind it. It does some good things, some genuinely unsettling things, and a few things here and there. Let's get into it. So it starts off, Steven eats all of this canned corn because he wants to go mini golfing with the gyms, but the gyms can't because they have to go on a mission. Which, right off the bat, I want to point out, just, 6 episodes ago, I was complaining about how the gyms weren't having not having fun, but they weren't willing to play along with Steven. They were being prudes. And, God, it was just one of the last episodes in which Amethyst called Pearl a narc, so, yeah, basically. But the gyms are completely willing to play along with Steven. It's just that they're busy, right? I completely get it. Their characters, I just like when they don't have to enjoy it. They just have to be willing to play along. And as we get to the end of the episode, you can see they are kind of enjoying it. So Steven, they go off on the mission, and Steven's like, oh, I'm going to go play a video game about golfing. And he plays a golf RPG. I don't remember the name at all. King of Putters or something like that. Final Putt Fantasy. It's making fun of Final Fantasy, Pokemon, and other stuff. But what it reminds me the most of is Golf Story, which is a game that didn't come out for a few years after this. And if you own a Nintendo Switch and do not own Golf Story, shame on you. Go buy Golf Story. It's an amazing freaking game. It really is. So he plays through the entire game and he unlocks the secret ending. But right as he does, the gyms show up and they start interrupting his right? And they get in the way. They break the TV with the Wailing Stone, which, hey, comes back later on. And Steven kind of throws a fit, like, oh, I want to go golfing. You couldn't. I wanted some time on my own. You wouldn't give it to me. Or, well, yeah. More or less, you know what I mean. And yeah, I completely get it. It's completely relatable. And unlike, say, Too Many Birthdays, this is more of a Steven problem than it is a problem with the gyms. And that's why the episode still works, because it's understandable. He comes from a more relatable place. Unlike the gyms, which I didn't feel like they didn't really have a place. So he goes into Rose's room, which is this cloud field. And basically anything he can imagine comes to life. He makes like a 22-story bunk bed. He makes a little tiny whale, which, hey, that's my channel icon. I really need to get around to changing that. I'll do it eventually. But he sees the ending to his game, or at least what he imagines it to be. And he leaves the room to go get donuts, and you can immediately tell something's off. The colors are more muted, right? It's both like a visual and an auditory notice. Like you can tell the sound's a little different, but the colors make things different. And all the characters start acting off. He goes to the big donut and they're all being really weird. And you can tell what's going on. I mean, some people won't click as fast. And they definitely, no, I hope people figure it out before Steven does, because he's late to the game. But he goes walking around Beach City. Is there something different about the stars? I feel like the stars in the room are a lot more frequent than they are at any other point in the show. Or maybe it's just that the fact that the sky is black, which isn't it normally shades of blue? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's different, it stands out compared to how it normally does. And as he's walking past the Fry Shack, he sees Frybo, which, again, red flag should be going off by this point, because something is definitely off. And Frybo is actually a great metaphor to use in this episode, because last time we saw him, he was really scary. Frybo is really fucked up. So to see him in this episode, which, again, I wouldn't describe as scary, I arguably couldn't even describe Frybo as scary, it's more unsettling than anything. And this episode, yeah, because everyone's kind of off. He goes around, he finds Connie. She's being weird. You see, he runs by all these people who are also acting weird. I like how they do the eyes, because whenever you see a character from a distance in the show, they always have like the circle with the line above it, and that's what all these people's eyes are like, right? It's a good theme thing where it's using the show's art style to show that something is wrong. without just like stating it, but still keeping a common visual thread. But he eventually ends up at the gas station. He like falls through the floor. And Greg is there and they're talking. He's giving him advice. And the Greg hologram is actually pretty accurate. Well, it starts to fall apart. But it leads me on two ideas. One, the hologram is just more accurate because Steven knows more about Greg than he does anyone else. Or two, and I like this one more, is that Rose, because this is her room, her Greg hologram is specifically more accurate than any of the others. Which leads to some interesting things. Like, when you really think about it, what does that entirely mean? Even though I can totally picture Rose, like, doing, like, those imaginary argument things in front of the Greg hologram for hours. That's kind of funny, I guess. But he eventually he eats the donut, or he tries to, and it's clouds, because he can't eat anything. So the world starts to fall apart, and as he's falling, the whale comes up and is like, "What do you want?" He says he wants out of the room, so they let him out of the room. And he realizes the error of his ways. He actually learns a bloody lesson, which is very important. Whether or not that lesson actually sticks is a little arguable. It mostly does, honestly. He doesn't really do anything like this again. And they all go golfing at the end, and it's fun, right? Even though it does end with the line, "I always get what I want," which, whether that goes against the moral of the episode or not, you decide. Kind of. Overall, yeah, I think it's a pretty solid episode. You got some good... the art style really works. And again, I've complained about the art style, and I've said it's getting better, and this one definitely shows it. Because there are some good shots, there are some interesting things. And yeah, overall, it just works. It's a character development episode that I really like, because it does some interesting things. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.